class of 7A. Breaking news, imperialism is taking over.
You're right, Joe. We have some special stories for you today.
This just in, the British are taking over India. Even though being small, the English forces conquered India by exploiting their diversity. The natives felt interfered as the British tried to convert most of them to Christianity. Press for social change and banned Sadie, the active widow, throwing herself onto the flames of her burning dead spouse. They also tried to incorporate Western education and legal procedures. Not too long ago, the British set up colonial rule. However, recently a famine has spurred up due to the lack of food and growing population. Someone like Thomas Malthus would have easily predicted this. His belief in killing off the poor from shortage of food supply matches the situation perfectly. Turning away from the bad news, there seem to be a few benefits from the British rule. The new imperialism has brought order to the countryside, revised their legal system, bettered their railroad and school and communication. However, though the spirit of imperialism, the Indians have started to develop a sense of nationalism. They have begun to fight for equality and the end of imperial rule. They have created the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. That's all I have for you today. Anything over there with you, Adam?
Thanks, Joe. Let's take a brief moment to review what's up with China. China, for a while, had the upper hand in the trade industry. They gained what is known as trade surplus, in which they export more than they import. This, however, means that the other end is not doing so well. The Westerners develop a trade deficit in which they have brought more from China than the Chinese is buying from them. Things turned for China, though once today's industrial revolution hit, they entered a period of decline and can't keep up with the need for expanding markets in the Western world. Throughout this decline, China has spent a lot of money buying opium and it's Britain selling it. They've become the equivalent to a drug dealer, one might say. As the Chinese became more and more addicted, Britain gained the huge profits with money and tea. Trying to stop this, the Chinese governments did their best to outlaw the drug. As the Chinese warships clashed with the British merchant ships trying to trade, the spark of opium war was created. Even though starting the fight, the Chinese lost to the well-armed English. Through this defeat, Britain made China accept the Treaty of Nanjing. The English have gone on to receive a huge indemnity or a huge payment for losses in the war. They have even gained Hong Kong and opened 5 ports for foreign trade. And they gave British citizens living in China the right to live under Britain's own laws and to be tried in their own courts.
I'll take it from here, Adam. Running behind, China. How? China has done their best to try and catch up with the Western world. They've imported Western technology, set up factories that will make them modern weapons. They've gone on to develop shipyards, railroads, and mines, along with translating Western works on science, government, and economy. However, the translating hasn't gotten far since their own government hasn't been supporting it. At the same time, the US had their worries with carving out parts of China. However, opening up an open door policy allowed for trade on an equal basis. This meant that other countries that were afraid to join the spheres of influence could now trade safely. This would go on to help the already weak China.
Breaking news! You're hearing it from us first. What they're calling the Boxer Uprising has, well, risen. A new group of Chinese has formed the secret society, apparently called the Righteous Harmonious Fist. What a name. However, they've been dubbed the Boxers due to their skill in martial arts. We've been told that they wanted to drive out the foreign devils who are polluting the land with their un-Chinese ways, strange buildings, machines, and even telegraph lines. In response, the Western powers and Japan quickly brought up a multinational force that crushed the Boxers and rescued the captured foreigners in Beijing. Although the Boxers failed, a feeling of nationalism has spread throughout their country. A constitutional monarchy arose, but some have called for a republic. Sun Yat-sen, also known as Sun Yat-sen, organized the Revolutionary Alliance in order to rebuild China on, quote, 3 principles of the people. First is nationalism and freeing China from foreign dominations. Second, being a democracy, a representative of government. And the last being livelihood or economic security for all Chinese. And then let me just finish this last part up. Ready?
And now over to Japan. As a number of unequal treaties spring up in China, they began to reach Japan. Not too soon after, American Commodore Matthew Perry was said to have sailed into Tokyo Bay, and he was carrying a letter from Millard Fillmore, the President of the United States. The message demanded that Japan open its ports to diplomatic and commercial exchange. The Japanese would be forced to sign the Treaty of Kanagawa, making them open 2 ports to American ships. Continuing with the crazy news, a 15-year-old Muti Suhito was brought to power as emperor. He has begun a long reign they're calling the Meihei Restoration. He is now with us.
Thank you. I am very proud to be here and very proud to be a ruler at my age. And yes, you are correct. I will bring great power with my Meihei Restoration. Long live Japan.
Thanks, sir. Anyway, powerful banking and industrial empires have sprung up. They're called zaibatsus. They have influenced the government with the use of donations to pass policies that favored international trade and further modernization of the country.
Imperialism is spreading, and it hasn't stopped for Japan. They feel the need to become imperial because of their economic needs and due to the fact that they lack many raw materials that would require a country to become imperialistic. They have since depended on other countries for these materials, and for the first time, Japan has successfully defeated a European nation. The Russo-Japanese War came out with the Japanese on top. Thanks to their victory, they gained control of Korea and parts of Manchuria. Well, watch out for Japan, right, Jack?
The age of imperialism is spreading rapidly through Asia. The Dutch have control over Indonesia, Britain has taken Myanmar, and France has Indochina. The leader of Siam, Mongkut, is desperately trying to keep his country independent. Mongkut is very intelligent and knows a lot of Western languages. He is currently making negotiations with larger countries to keep Siam independent. Let's take a brief look at a press conference he held earlier.
I'm doing my best to keep Siam, for it's my duty to serve.
Sir, who have you been talking with recently in order to prevent loss of independence?
Well, really, I've been talking all around. I've studied and learned many languages in my day. With my son, Kala Longcorn, we'll soon be on the road to help our nation modernize.
The conference was quite brief. These treaties, however, are not beneficial towards Siam. Chulalongkorn, Mongkut's son, is beginning to look equal in the eyes of Western nations. Chulalongkorn has hired Western people to teach new technologies to his people and has abolished slavery. Also, he is currently restructuring the treaties that his father made. In other news, the United States of America has become an imperialistic nation after the Spanish-American War. America now has control over the Philippines. America has also gained control of Hawaii after fears that the newly imperialistic nation, Japan, would take it. That's all the news we have for today. Thank you for listening. I'm Nick, and back to the studio.